Now this does not look so good, while this looks pretty good. And the best part is that all of this is achieved with some entry-level lighting equipment. Really simple, all you need is just the knowledge. And in this video right here, I'm not only gonna share with you guys in step-by-step detail exactly how I've lit this scene, but also I'm gonna share with you guys some practical tips on how to take any YouTube space, no matter where it is, to the very next level, plus my secret sauce. You guys ready? Let's start. All right, so the first light that I have here in this setup is without a doubt the most important one too, and that is the key light. Now the key light is your main light and it's the light source that is going to light your subject and lighting me here and lighting you in your setup at home. Now for this particular setup, I have it in a 45-degree angle from me, so it is just here. All right, now the reason I have it in a 45-degree angle is that creates a really nice shadow on my face, making more contrast and just allowing me to get a little bit more cinematic and a dramatic look. Really much appreciated. If I were to move the key light just in front of me behind the camera right here, I would get a light that is directly on me and I would lose this nice shadow that I've created here and get a more like beauty dish, more flattering light. Similar light as you would get on a ring light. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just a different type of lighting setup. But in my opinion, I just personally like to have it here more because it allows me to get a little bit more dramatic and a cinematic feel. Now the light that I personally use as my key light is a Godox 100 watt. I used for a long time the 60 watt, you can easily use that too, it's just a cheaper version. The 100 has a little bit more power and I have it on like I think 25% the intensity of it, so you could easily use the 60 watt if you want. Now these lights are fairly inexpensive, especially in the realm of video production and photography and all this, like everything, the gear can cost so much. And these was like one of my first lights that I ever bought and I had it for years and I still use it. And I totally recommend it. Now on it I have a softbox. What a softbox does, it diffuses the light and makes it much softer. Without it, the light would be much more harsh, kind of like if you're on a really sunny day and you start to squint the eyes and the light is just so concentrated and so hard. So by putting a softbox on it, you even the light out, make it much softer and more flattering and just much more beautiful in general. So I would say that having a softbox is mandatory. And then on the softbox, you can see that I have honeycomb grid. Now this is important in my opinion, and especially for this lighting setup, because a honeycomb grid, it concentrates the light and it prevents lighting spill. So without it, the light will spill away. Basically, it would go to the wall and it would start to compete with the red light sources, the backlight that I have here. But with it, it like kind of concentrates it, so it allows it to shine to me instead of shining to me, and then also starting to shine on the background and all over the place. So you can kind of direct the light better if you have a honeycomb grid. So I have it here and I really like having one. Now, how far away should you then position the key light? Well, to answer that question properly, you kind of have to understand what the distance does to light. Now, really simply speaking, the further away you move the light, the less intense it will be on the subject, on me, because of course you're taking the light source and just moving it away, but also by moving it away, you're increasing the area on where the light will shine. Basically, there's much more spill, so you have light on more places. Imagine you have this cone here of light, like we have with the softbox, and then we move it further and further and further away. The light source will become bigger and bigger and bigger on where the light hits the wall, but also less and less intense on the wall itself. So where I position the key light, it will totally depend on the situation, because if I were to move it further away from here, then it would light up the background much more, and maybe I don't want that. So you kind of have to do trial and error, and obviously if you move further away, you will have to crank up the intensity to light up you more. I think a good rule of thumb is just to start with 0.9 meters or 3 feet for you Americans there. And just start with it there. I think this is like kind of 1 meter away, something like that. And then I just check it out. So just put it here, press on the record, and then I put it in the computer and check and see if everything looks good. That is like a good rule of thumb in my opinion, to start with it in 0.9 meters or 3 feet. All right, now the next light in this setup is of course the rim light. It's the light that is behind me. Now, rim light is often called backlight, sometimes even hair light. And the reason we like to use it is that it helps separating ourselves from the background by lighting up our back features here, giving us this nice halo. Now, the reason also it's called hair light sometimes is that it lights up the hair here, giving us this cool little halo and just helps with the background separation. In this particular setup right here, I made the key light blue to get this cool color contrast. Now this entire color theme is inspired by my friend Peter Lindgren. If you watch his channel, you'll see him using this type of color setup a ton, and I think it's really, really cool. Now, the rim light I use is the first light that I ever bought, the Godox 60 watt. It's a nice entry-level light source, and how I got it to be blue, I just taped these like cheap gels on, put it over, and it turned blue. Having gels in your kit, very nice, because you can easily change the color of your lights, but just putting them over in a really cheap way works flawlessly. Now, where should I position the rim light? I position it just out of the frame, and then I play with the intensity until it's right. Now, the cool thing with this setup here, this gives me this blue here, which is nice, but also if I'm showing you products or whatever, you also get this cool blue rim on the product itself. Super, super cool. And then you can put an overhead camera here as well. Very simply, if you want me to show you how to do an overhead rig, I can show you that. Let me know in the comments down below. But this is like the main two lights that I have. You'll also notice that I have a little what we call flag behind or at the side of the rim light. The reason I have the flag there, this just prevents spill to the background. So if I wouldn't use it, you would get much more blue on the background itself, because the light obviously spills to the background, but I don't want it here because I want to have this red light here or orange light behind me. So I just put a little flag. This could be just a simple cardboard if you don't have like a professional flag at home, just to make sure that the light is not hitting the wall as much. Very simple. Now I just want to point one thing out quickly, is that the beauty with this setup is that because we are using either RGB light tubes or LED lights with gels, then we can change the colors to any spectrum that we like. For instance, if you want to use a blue background, then you can easily do that. The key with this setup is just to use contrast color. So whatever color you want to have on the background, then use the opposite color on the rim light. Now, I truly believe that it's important for all of us that are serious about our content game and just YouTube in general, to think about our set design and the studio and just the lighting, because it's such an easy way to make our videos so much better and level them up and make them look much more professional, or just make them more professional in general. But just understanding color theory, set design, and then lighting. I mean, the lightings around me, they aren't expensive. This is all old entry-level lights that I've used for years, but just knowing how to use them, it's an easy way to make the professionalism of my entire content much higher. And when people see your content for the very first time, they're quick to judge. People judge really quickly on your appearance. And on YouTube and here on social media, our how we come across and our set design is the first thing that people see. So having it look good and professional is something that I just truly believe will increase the credibility, because we come across as we know more what we are doing, and thus just increasing views, viewer retention, and all that good stuff that we love. Now, for those of you who are truly serious and want to level up your studio game fast, then for the last few months I've been creating a course that's been taking me so much time to make. This is one of the most comprehensive things that I've made. There's over 40 different lessons, hours of content, where I'm just pouring everything that I've learned over the last almost a decade of doing YouTube and building multiple different sets designs in my life, very different mistakes that I've made. I'm diving deep into lighting setups, color theory, set design, cameras, what camera I use, the lenses, my secret sauce, and all of that good stuff. If you're interested, there's a link down in the description, and I'll see you guys there. It's the YouTube Studio Masterclass, how to build your perfect social media space. Anyhow, I see you guys there. Now, there is more to it in this particular lighting setup than what we already covered. So far, we covered the key light and we covered the rim light. But as you can see, there is a light source also behind me. Plus, what camera is it that I'm using here? and what lens do I have, and why did I choose this focal length instead of a different focal length? We'll cover that all now. So let's start with the camera and then we'll go into the light. So the camera that I'm using right here is my Sony a7 IV. The type of camera body is kind of irrelevant because I think that the focal length is more interesting. The focal length for this particular scene I have is 35mm. And the reason I chose that is that I think it looks like good here. Now usually when you're seeing me here online, especially when I'm using my main studio setup, my main angle that you see all the time, then I'm using a 20mm lens. I personally often prefer a 20mm lens in like a YouTube studio scenario because it allows me to get close to the lens while you're seeing the whole studio around me, and I think that makes a little intimate feeling. I personally like the 20mm a ton. And then I usually have a second camera angle where I have a 85mm, and I think that complements each other very well. But here, I decided to go with 35mm, and the reason is basically just the limitation of the setup here. The wall behind me, it's a little bit, how can I say, too small. So if I were to take it to, let's just show you guys here, to this direction to 24mm, which would be a really cool look because I could be all the way here. We could move it even closer, but then you're starting to see everything behind me. I don't like it that much. Plus, the 35mm look is just really, really nice. I like the 35mm a ton. Let me see if I can. Right here. So there's nothing wrong with the 35mm look. It's a very flattering look. The face looks nice. The compression is beautiful. Plus, if you were to have something more behind you than just a plain wall with a light, you can get more background separation because the more compression, the more bokeh you can get. And we do like a bokeh. Now the light sources behind me are two different light tubes. One is a tiny non-light, and then the other one is a cheap Ulanzi light tube. I basically just put them on orange, and then I just place them behind me, and they shoot up to the wall. And this does a nice little color contrast with the blue here, or the blue or the teal with the red and orange type here. Very nice, and this is a classic color contrast colors that we have. Now you can of course switch all of the lights out if you like. For the rim light, you could easily just have one of these light tubes as blue, could be really nice. Instead of having two different light tubes, you can have one or just one of these longer power tubes. They are really, really nice, but they're pretty expensive. But man, those are like investments because you can own them for a very long time, and that's something that I want to buy very soon. But for now, I have these two that I just own, and it did a really pretty decent job. Now, since all of you guys are serious about your YouTube and content game and you want to learn as much as you possibly can, then next you should watch this video because here I'm breaking down and giving you guys all of my secrets on how I light up my main YouTube studio.